a comment on the relation between mental and physical vacuums. There may be a way of describing a difference between the two in terms of symmetry. Point being, a physical system like a glass of water has a particular length, but a thought needn't. A thought can be sort of stretched or compressed, and presumably the logic of the thinking process doesn't depend on how long a thought goes on for. That means in terms of physics that there's whatever laws there may be of thought, they can be scaled in time and they won't change. And that's not true of the laws of physics. And this corresponds to a situation that's called in physics symmetry breaking, and that might be the relationship between the physical vacuum and the mental vacuum. That just some phase transition occurs at which a particular scale appears, and that corresponds to the possibility of physical systems.
Just about this concept of unity state observer and waking state observer. 200 years ago, there's a Jewish rabbi who, by the name of Rabbi Nachman from Breslov, Hasidic rabbi, who wrote something about the mechanics of creation. And the way he describes the mechanics of creation, he says, at first the light of God was infinite and filled everything. And then God wanted to manifest his kingdom because to show his kingship. And how can you show your kingship if you don't have creation and people to rule? So he had to create people. Now, the way he could create the people and create that creation was only if he could take that light, which was infinite, and kind of push it to the sides to create an empty space. And if he could create that empty space, so there would be some place to create creation in it. Now, so...
It's a wonderful interpretation.
And he says, and so what he did, he really kind of pushed his infinite light to the sides, and there in the empty space, he started to create creation. But he says, that rabbi, he says, there's a very catchy and picky point about it. And that point is that how can really be some place there in creation where God is not there? So that means we come to a kind, he says, it's a very interesting thing, he says, because it's as if God was not there. It's as if he took his light to the sides. But in reality, he didn't. And this thing about having that light, that rabbi said 200 years ago, he said that this thing about having a space, an empty space, which as if doesn't contain the light, but in reality does contain the light, this reality will only be comprehended in the future. That's what he said. Because right now, we are not able to comprehend it. So I think what he meant really is that
he was explaining Ga after A.
Yes, and
And it took 200 years to understand.
Yes. And also, something very interesting that came to me about this parallel between Vedic knowledge and scientific knowledge and Judaism is about Vedas and the creation. And you said something today that there are two things about Vedas. One is that they're eternal, and the other thing that they were not really created. They're there. And it's very interesting that this is exactly what people say about the Torah. The Torah is the Jewish scripture that was cognized by
Jewish Veda.
It really is, Maharishi, because you know the Hebrew word for knowledge is yeda. It's very interesting. Yeda. So one of the things that are really said about the Torah is that it was never created. what the Jewish rabbi who lived 1,000 years ago called Yehuda Halevi said. He said the Torah was never created, only it was said to it, someone said to it, be, ordered it, be. And it was, just like creation. Just an order, be, and there it was. That's all.
It was self-revealed.
Yes, it just needed some impetus, some attention, I guess this we would say in today's terms.
About the hymns, it is said that he who is awake, the hymns seek him out. Like the magnet attracts the iron filing. So he who is awake, whose awareness is unbounded, pure consciousness, the hymns appear in that. Yo jagara tam richah kamayante. He who is awake, the riches, the hymns, seek him out. They find him. This is how the cognition of the Veda on the level of pure consciousness by itself. There is a level of existence which is reverberating in the structure of the Veda. When one's awareness is capable of being awake on that level, all the riches pop in. That is it. But it's very, very beautiful and very essential to look at all this creation from pure knowledge and all these soul phenomena from what the science has given us. All those systems. Mathematics is highly evolved. You just apply this and this and this. It's very necessary to see it from the scientific viewpoint. And then there is ancient record, there is scientific validation, and then experience. All the three things together, we'll have a better world.